Yo, yo, yo. It's the Tom Joyner Morning Show. I don't even know what Tom Joyner is doing these days. But anyway, I digress. So, I was thinking about something, first and foremost, shout out to Eric, the young guy. He did a video not too long ago. And man, I gotta clap it up for him for that video. He was making the point that, the whole Kendrick v. Drake thing, man, if it ain't, it kind of ruined hip-hop discourse in a lot of ways. And, I have some thoughts on that. Matter of fact, shout out to Open Mike Eagle. I had sat down with Open Mike Eagle for that, the How to Beat the Boogeyman video, and he was making this point is that, and I think this is the big part of what it comes down to, right? Is he was making the point, because we were talking specifically about Jay Electronica, right? Jay got all of that anti-Semitic stuff around him, and Mike was making the point that, we got to be honest with ourselves about how much of these battles are for the hearts and minds of the casual white audience. Yeah, you know what I mean? And the casual white audience, not talking about, the hardcore hip hop nerds, I'm not talking about, the Professor Skies of the world. Shout out to Professor Sky. We're not talking about them. You feel me? But we talking about, the casual heads. You feel me? And they ain't gonna rock with them, Synagogue of Satan bars and whatever and whatnot. And, so I want to kind of combine these 2 points together to get to what I'm talking about. Is that if you remove white as a qualifier, again, Mike was talking about something specific with that, but if you remove white as a qualifier and just say that we got to be honest with ourselves about how much of this discourse is being dominated by the casual heads. You understand what I'm saying? Then we will understand why hip-hop discourse, you feel me, is in the gutter, is in the trash bin, right? Because the discourse, at least from what I've observed, is dominated by folk, and I've said this in the past, by folk who don't even like hip-hop, you feel me, who don't even like rap music, but it's dominated by folk who like celebrities, and their favorite celebrity so happens to rap, you know what I mean, and they think that just because they know their fave, you feel me, they think that just because, they can quote, and it's funny, right? Because, and I'm about to bring up the Doja point again, right? It's funny, right? Because I've made this point so many times about my concern with the way that Doja is being presented and the way that she's being pushed by the industry. She's being pushed as, not like other girls. When, if you're actually familiar with Doja's music pre-Alligator Bites, she is a bands and booty meat rapper. You know what I mean? She's just gay about it. That's the only real difference. But if you are familiar with her pre-Alligator Bites, Doja is all over the place. You understand what I'm saying? But the fact that the industry is kind of pigeonholing her into this, weirdo rap, as somebody phrased it, and that's not a disparaging term, but I called it theater rap. You dig what I'm saying? I've kind of pigeonholed her into that box while, pushing her ceaselessly. This is why you get all of these, the problem with Doja videos. Oh, the culture is turning on Doja, blah, 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 blah. This is why. You feel me? And my concern has always been, you dig what I'm saying, that in this incessant push to promote Doja as the alternative to girly rap, You understand what I'm saying? And I'm not even going to get it, but it's funny because I've seen folk in so many ways intimate that, oh, you know, and I hate when we do this, and I know I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but I hate when we do this, oh, well, you know, Meg or Cardi or whoever is sexualized the wrong way, but Doechii, you feel me, Missy Elliott, you know, all of these ones, you know, that's the right way to say it. We need more Lauryn Hills, and shut the, try not to cuss, man, but shut up with that, man. You dig what I'm saying? Like, we don't put that qualifier, like we sitting up here, like my personal right now, my 3 album of the year candidates right now are Lotus, Let God Sort 'Em Out, and Magic Alive, right? Let God Sort 'Em Out, I think, has the slight edge for me right now. But outside of that one song, outside of the opening track, what is Push and Mal talking about besides selling drugs? You know what I mean? But we don't put that qualifier, because in the same way, and I got another video coming up on the main channel that kind of gets into this, is that I ain't going to hold you and argue that, you know, Meg and them do not benefit from, you know, historical depictions of black women being, you know, these hypersexual, you know, succubi or whatever. I'm not going to hold you and say that they don't benefit from that, even if they don't intentionally capitalize on it. But we don't put a qualifier next to reasonable doubt, because all Jay is talking about, you know, is, matter of fact, about a life that ain't even his own. Oh, the air freshener is in the camera, man. A life that ain't even his own, man. We don't put that qualifier on Illmatic for, you know, telling street tales that he never lived. We don't put that qualifier on, you know, Ready to Die. We don't put that qualifier, matter of fact, we don't put that qualifier on 50, on Pac, on DMX. You can even go to, you know, NBA Youngboy and Kodak Black and all of these ones who have undoubtedly benefited from the historical depiction of black hyper machismo. But we don't put no qualifier on them. You understand what I'm saying? That's all I got to say. I just find it funny that folk that folk find certain people worthy and others not so much. And, you know, they decide that now I'm going to put, you know, an asterisk next to your artistry just because I don't rock with it personally. But anyway, I digress. Back to the hip hop discourse thing, right? Here's the thing, dog, is that it's similar to the NBA, right? Where the loudest voices in the room are folk who don't even like the game. You understand what I'm saying? It's funny because, you know, you have these people talking about, oh, well, you know, I'm folk who, I'll put it this way, folk who are on the wrong side, you feel me, of the Kendrick v. Drake thing. Folk who are on the wrong side of that, and, you know, now they salty because all of these Kendrick videos, all of these, you know, talking about Drake's lawsuit and all that and whatever, and saying, oh, well, you know, so-and-so had an album, you know, Slick Rick just had an album drop, you know, I bet y'all ain't know Ghostface got an album that's supposed to be dropping on Friday. You dig what I'm saying? But here's the thing about it, and this is why that argument aggravates me and pisses me off, and why it's so disingenuous. Because if you feel that strongly about Slick Rick's new album, you feel me? If you feel that strongly about Murs, you feel me? Or Boldy James, I like Boldy James, but I'm just making a point. If you feel that strongly about them, then why don't you make your own video? Why don't you do a lyric breakdown of Slick Rick's album? Why don't you do a lyric breakdown of all of these artists, you feel me, who are not getting, you know, the shine that you feel like they should because we too busy, you know, gulping down Kendrick's glizzy. You feel me? Because you don't. The truth is that it's sour grapes. That's what it is. You dig what I'm saying? Because the stone cold reality is that folk who make these, that they understand and they know this. You feel me? And I made this point in the past, is that, you know, we want to get the antics out of hip hop discourse. You know, we want to get the XQCs and we want to get the Aiden Rosses out of hip hop discourse. But how many of y'all are really going to sit there and listen to Justin Hunt do a lyric breakdown on a Ray Vaughn CD? How many of y'all are going to do that? Not very many, because if you go to the company man's page and look at his most viewed videos, they're about Drake and Kendrick. So again, we gotta ask her. And instead of pointing the finger at the supplier, because again, if there was no market for it, then there would be no need to supply it. You feel me? And that's what niggas want to hear. Niggas want to hear about the antics. They want to hear about the UMG drama. They want any reason, you feel me, to hear about and to listen to something about Drake or about Kendrick. You understand what I'm saying? And so this is how it's, because it's become this thing where, you know, again, folk don't love hip hop. Folk don't like hip hop, man. They like celebrities. And I don't care if that celebrity is Kendrick. I don't care if that celebrity, and not only that, but they wind up projecting their whole sense of self onto that celebrity. You understand what I'm saying? So I don't care if it's Kendrick, I don't care if it's Drake, I don't care if it's Megan, I don't care if it's Nicki, I don't care if it's Doechii. The vast majority of niggas that are the loudest voices within hip hop discourse right now are not fans of hip hop. They're celebrity worshipers. They're Real Housewives watchers. That's what they are. You understand what I'm saying? That's what they like. And that's what they want. And this gets into the whole discussion about the death of the gatekeepers. Is because let's not sit here and kid ourselves like, you know, the casual head has not always been integral to the financial, to the fiscal health of the genre. You understand what I'm saying? Let's not kid ourselves with that. But there was a time where you had gatekeepers who dictated, or maybe not dictated, but facilitated who got the microphone and who was allowed to speak and who was allowed to speak the loudest. And more often than not, again, that was the fear with Drake. You understand what I'm saying? Is that it would embolden those casual heads to feel like now they're the authorities. And that's exactly what happened. You understand what I'm saying? That compounded with, you know, the fact that the internet makes it so you can just go find your tribe now. You understand what I'm saying? You get these subreddits where it's the meme. You understand? Y'all know that meme, and part of my French here. You understand what I'm saying? Y'all know that meme that says, you know, it's always two dumb bitches in the comments going, exactly. You understand what I'm saying? One of them says something head ass, and then here come another one right behind them saying exactly. And that's what a lot of this is. There's a bunch of dumb mofos, you feel me, glazing each other by having the right opinions. You understand what I'm saying? And they don't love hip hop. You understand what I'm saying? They don't love the game. They're not going to be the one. If they do listen to a lyric breakdown, it's going to be of their faves lyrics and nothing else. They don't really have an interest. They don't really have a desire to go outside of their bubble and discover something new. These are the same mofos. I remember I had when I had I forget what video it was, but some dumb mother, you know what, gonna say, oh, well, why all of a sudden, would you rather we listen to Sexy Red? Would you rather we listen to, I'm like, nigga, please, for 1 second, get Kenny's dick out your mouth and come up for air. You understand what I'm saying? I hate when we do this game, like, Kendrick single-handedly brought back lyrical rap. I will give you that Kendrick made lyrical rap cool again. I will give you that. But that in itself is the problem. You understand what I'm saying? That in itself is the issue. You dig? Is that because Kendrick, made it cool to listen to these lyrically dense, well, not even that dense, but just substantive. It's not enough to just get off of to get by on pure vibes anymore, because Kendrick brought that back to the forefront of the culture. You feel me? Now you get a bunch of niggas who just hopped onto the bandwagon, or niggas who have been on that bandwagon for a while and who have this false sense of superiority just because they listen to one lyric or a handful of lyrical rappers. You understand what I'm saying? That tells me a lot right there, is that niggas act like you can't listen to Kendrick and Sexy Red. You feel me? Like, come on, dog. That's a pile of dog defecate to me. You feel me? I hate that. Niggas act like you can't listen to Travis Scott and Lupe Fiasco. You can't listen to Black Thought and, Uncle Luke or something. You know what I mean? I hate that. I hate how tribal hip-hop discourse has become. I hate it so much. Where folk don't want to discover or learn anything new. You feel me? They just want to get a pat on the back for having the right, and not the right opinion in this case, but they just want to have a pat on the back for having, the right taste in music. You understand what I'm saying? Like I said, a lot of these folk, these were, I ain't gonna hold you, a lot of these folk were the people who sat at the losers table in high school. You understand what I'm saying? That's what a lot of these folk, it's folk that sat at the losers table in high school. It's the Stanley Ipkiss effect, is that now they got a hold of the guillotine now. You feel me? And it's Revenge of the Nerds. You feel me? And I'm saying this as a rap nerd myself. It's Revenge of the Nerds. You feel me? Where all I'm saying is this, dog, is let's not do this thing. Let's not do this thing where we bitch about the state of the discourse when we are the key contributors to why it's so ass to begin with. You understand what I'm saying? Let's not do this thing where we bitch about, the amount of Kendrick and Drake videos on the internet when we ourselves are the ones that are consuming it, one. And two, you ain't making anything different. You understand what I'm saying? And let's not sit here and, you feel me, bitch about the state of the culture. You understand what I'm saying? When we're the ones who allowed the culture to get to this point to begin with. And when I'm talking about culture, I'm talking about the discourse around hip-hop, primarily discourse within the mainstream sphere of hip-hop, because I know some underground nigga, I ain't talking about the underground. You know what I'm saying? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the folk that dominate, you feel me, the main conversations that are being had right now. You understand what I'm saying? Are not being had about, URL battle rappers. The main conversations that are being had right now, even over a year out from it, are still being had about Drake and Kendrick. And personally, I'm sick of it. I'm sick to death of it, but I'm also going to put my hand up and say that I've contributed to it. So that's all I'm saying, man, is that we gotta be honest about the role that we've played in contributing to how ass hip-hop discourse has become. So there's my 2 cents. Deuces.